You know, I've heard a lot of stories about Washington State in the summer and how perfect it is and how great the weather is and the people are nice and the beer is good and the food is amazing. Yeah, they were understating it. This place is ridiculous. It's like God is showing off here. And don't even get me started on Seahawks training camp. That was the best training camp experience I've ever had. And it's going to sound like I'm making this up, but the actual Blue Angels were just tearing it up and down Lake Washington the entire day. They were out there for like 5 hours doing crazy, ridiculous stuff with F-18s. You had an actual, literal bald eagle in the trees overlooking practice. Pete Carroll's out there at the age of 71 spinning it on the practice field. I got to watch Devin Witherspoon go at it, Derek Hall, Geno Smith, obviously, who I'm here to talk about today. It was amazing. I didn't know how good it is up here. And you know what? As a Californian, I understand why we all moved here. It's just, it's stunning. And by the way, I was there with my buddy Brandon, who's part of the Seahawkers organization. They have chapters all over the country. In particular, they also have a chapter for military veterans and also active military. So if you're a Seahawks fan and you're also a veteran, join the Seahawkers. They raise thousands of dollars for their local communities, and they are the most loyal Seahawks fans you will ever see. It's a great group of people, so especially if you're a Hawks fan and you're watching this, which you should be because it's about Geno Smith, go join the Seahawkers. They're great. Now, as for the main event today, we're here obviously to talk about Geno Smith, and I am a Geno Smith truther, obviously. I was actually in Week 1 in Seattle last year, the Russ return game. My organs were actually vibrating in that stadium. That's how loud it was. It was the most visceral stadium experience I've ever had, and yeah, when people talk about Seattle being the loudest, they're not fucking kidding. That was insane. But I love Geno Smith. He played well in that game. He shocked a lot of people in prime time, and then he just kept playing well. He was stacking good game after good game. His efficiency numbers were off the charts. His deep ball numbers were off the charts. And all of a sudden it went from, oh yeah, fun little Geno Smith renaissance to, oh, he's actually a top 10 quarterback in the league. How about that? So today what we're going to talk about is everything that Geno Smith did really well last year. You know, where did this renaissance come from? What was he actually doing, if we put on the tape, that made him so good? And B, is everything that went right last year translatable to 2023? Can he keep this going? Spoiler alert, yes he can. I'm not going to dick you around too long on that. But still, stay to the end anyway, because that's really good for the algorithm, and we have a job to do here. So sit back, relax, grab a drink, preferably Woodinville, because I love them, and let's get to the film. We can't talk about Geno Smith without starting on the most notable component of his success last year, and that was his absolutely ridiculous, borderline disgusting efficiency on deep, tight window throws. Only one other starting quarterback in the league was as accurate and efficient as Geno on passes further than 20 yards down the field, and that was Tua. To put it into perspective, on attempts that traveled more than 20 yards, Geno was second in completion percentage, only behind Tua. He was second in passer rating, also, again, only behind Tua. He was first in deep touchdown throws with 14, while also throwing only 3 picks. He had 31 charted big-time throws, which is another PFF metric which kind of measures deep, tight window, ballsy throws that you just happen to throw perfectly. Again, he was first in that, as well as leading the league in big-time throw percentage by a lot at a whopping 41%. And he did all that while the Seahawks also tied for the lead in the NFL with drops on deep passes with 4. So his stats technically could have been better. All of those numbers for Smith were utterly absurd, and at least for me, no throw illustrates just how dialed in he was in 2022 than this monster of a ball that he unleashed against the Saints back in Week 5. Seattle's in a close stack, or what some coaches would call a dirty bunch here to the left, with 3 receiving threats to the field side, and the Saints are seemingly presenting a quarters coverage look here, which is common against 3-by-1 looks from the offense. Geno signals for Tyler Lockett to motion across, and he sees the Saints do not get out of their quarters look pre-snap. I don't know what play the Hawks had on here originally, but Geno Smith has other ideas, so he changes the play at the line, and what he gets into is a 7-man protection with a route concept that's sort of similar to a concept that Sean McVay calls X-angle, but also it's not really that similar because the deep angle from DK Metcalf seems to not really be clearing out for any actual midfield threat at all, and instead what you have is just a divide route from Lockett running right next to him. This is kind of an odd route combination, and so my theory, which I don't really have a way of confirming, but I've just watched enough Seahawks football to think that this is true, is that this is actually a sight adjustment by Tyler Lockett. And Lockett, as a receiver, is known for doing side adjusts deep down the field. I've done episodes on that in the past, going back really for years. Even when Russ was the quarterback, he did this all the time. And so what I think happened here is that when he read the safety's eyes, looking like he was going to come down and cut any deep crossing route, which is typically what happens in quarters, he decided to just let it ride and take off and attempt to split the whole coverage down the middle. Now, this entire time, Geno was sitting back there behind that beautiful 7-man protection, and he's watching Tyler commit to that read and try to split those safeties. And when I tell you that he threw one of the most arrogant, aggressive, but also insanely gorgeous deep balls that I have ever seen. I mean, just look at this thing. There is no way that this should have worked. There were 3 Saints DBs within 3 yards of Lockett here. This ball should have been picked or at least broken up, but Geno hit it. He placed it there in literally the only 8-inch area that he could in order to have this be complete. For my money, this was the best throw that any quarterback made last year across the entire league, and it came from Geno Smith. And here's the thing, this was a regular occurrence for him. Even just in that Saints game by itself, he had 2 or 3 more throws that were top tier beautiful, and he made it look like a light day's work. Whenever he had a clean pocket and he could just sit there and throw darts, he just didn't miss. It was uncanny, and I would put his deep accuracy in 2022 up against any other season from any other quarterback in the last 10 years or so. That's how special he was. I do want to add a small point of clarification though before we move on. He wasn't just accurate when the protection was great though. He was also accurate when he was under pressure and the pocket was collapsing right in his face. He would still stand in there and deliver even when he was about to get crushed, and those throws would still be perfect. He was also a very good explosive mover in short areas to avoid pressure within the pocket and kind of give himself a little bit more time to reset. Or he could escape the pocket and make very accurate throws on the run when he kind of had to improvise a little bit. Look no further than this example against the 49ers where protection broke down immediately on a play-action pass, and before Geno could even finish his drop, he had a nose tackle barreling down on him. So with absolutely zero panic, Smith just planted his back foot, fully opened his hips to the left, while keeping 2 hands on the ball, mind you, and protecting it from the swipe of the DT, and he just gave a little hop to get out of his grasp. Then, in one smooth motion, he exploded back off of that left foot because he saw the 5 technique also about to crush him, and he used that explosiveness in short areas to escape out the side door, while also immediately getting his eyes down the field to look for an outlet. Once again, with no hesitation or panic, he got the ball out while on the run to a wide-open Tyler Lockett, saving the team from taking a sack and turning it into a first down. And that last little element, by the way, is something that I want to highlight before we get out of here. Geno can make very accurate throws on the run. He's not the most mobile quarterback at his age, but he certainly is mobile. And his poise and accuracy when things break down and he's running for his life, that just makes all the difference. And it's what elevates him from being, quote unquote, just a pocket passer to being a complete threat as a quarterback. He can win within structure, we all know that, especially deep down the field, but he can win out of structure too, which to me is the true barometer for when you know your QB is legitimately, as they say, the guy. By the way, this part that you're listening to right now was not actually filmed anywhere in Washington. I didn't get a chance to finish recording the video up there because I had to catch a flight back down here to LA. So I finished it down here in my apartment. But I still do have a piece of the Pacific Northwest with me at all times. This is a mug from my favorite coffee shop in Seattle. It's called Storyville Coffee. There's a couple locations around there. The one I always go to is right above Pike's Place, and I go there every single time I'm in town for a Seahawks game, which is usually, again, like once a year if I can. And they make an amazing cup of coffee, which unfortunately I can't get down here in LA, so this mug is the closest thing that I can get to Storyville. But there is other really good coffees that I put in this mug at all times. It's my most used mug. And the coffee that I have right now is from PT's Coffee Roasting Company. It's called the Flatlander. And I got this coffee from today's episode sponsor, Trade Coffee. I know, brilliant transition there, Brett. But if you do love coffee, if you're a coffee, I don't want to say coffee snob, coffee aficionado is probably a better word for it. And you like medium roasts, you like stuff that's kind of chocolatey, kind of almondy. Highly recommend, again, the Flatlander from PT's Coffee. You can get that and dozens, actually not even dozens, hundreds of other coffees from more little roasters than I can count that are kind of dotted around the country over at Trade Coffee. If you love coffee, that is probably going to be a godsend for you because everything gets shipped to you within 48 hours of being roasted, so it's incredibly fresh. Again, the sheer variety that you can pick from is almost overwhelming, and if you do get overwhelmed, they have tools on the site and on the app and everything like that to kind of help you pick what should get delivered to you. There's more choices than you can possibly ever drink through. But if you want to check out Trade, if you're a coffee fan yourself, you want some coffees from very small, independently owned roasters that are extraordinarily high quality, that you're always going to get super fresh, just check out Trade and the link down in the description below. You'll get a free bag with your subscription, so it's a great deal, and I cannot speak highly enough about it. I love everything they've ever sent me. I've gotten probably like 10 bags total from them at this point, and it's just an awesome service. So again, if you like coffee, check out Trade at the link down below. You get a free bag if you sign up and subscribe to it. That's about it. It's a pretty simple ad read. And I know a bunch of Pacific Northwesterners are probably watching this, and I know you're all coffee addicts like me. So, targeted marketing. How about that? Anyway, that's about all I got for this week. I'm going to be back next week with something entirely different that hopefully you'll also enjoy. And yeah, I'll see you then.